Joining us all week long as we hosted our first ever Walked on Alzheimer's virtual team kickoff week. I hope you enjoyed learning the ins and outs of your participant center as you battled for more badges, as well as getting to know different walk managers from across the state. Before we begin, I want to acknowledge that this is a challenging time, and so thank you for your dedication to moving our mission forward. Planning for the 2020 Walked on Alzheimer's is on track, and we're looking forward to hosting all 27 Wisconsin Walked on Alzheimer's this fall, either in person, virtually, or likely a hybrid of the two. So as more information becomes available, we will definitely keep you all in the loop. My name is Taylor Ruffin, and I am the Walked on Alzheimer's manager for Ozaukee and Walworth counties, and I'm based in our Milwaukee office. We wanted to say cheers to you on a great week of huge success. And I wanted to shout out some of our top badge earners from across the state that joined us this week. So Tim Williams of Walworth County Walk earned 7 badges this week. Nancy Stevenson and Elise Rodriguez of Milwaukee County each earned 5 badges. Melissa Glodman from Dane County earned 3 badges this week. Dean Morey from the Spooner Area Walk earned 9 badges. And Shelly Maurer from the Kenosha Racine Walk earned 8 badges. So congratulations to you and to everybody else who participated. Thank you for your leadership in the Walk to End Alzheimer's. We know that first survivor is out there, and because of each of you, we're getting closer and closer to finding them each and every day. So now, the moment that we have all been waiting for. It is my great pleasure to introduce 5-time Olympic gold medalist and speed skating legend, Bonnie Blair.
Hi, everybody, and welcome and congratulations to what is an exciting week for all of you and getting excited to look forward to the fall and the Walk to End Alzheimer's walks, no matter how they happen. If I've been in your walk or been at your walk in the past, as I've kind of floated around to different ones at different times over the last few years, probably a lot of you know my connection, but maybe not everybody. And my mom had suffered dementia. So that's my connection to the walk and, you know, really just the whole Alzheimer's connection. I think anytime you have somebody that is connected like that, that personal connection really tugs at your heartstrings. And so now over the past, I don't know, it's probably been close to 14 years or so, I've been active with the Wisconsin chapter and glad to be part of it. And, you know that we're inching along, but we're getting there. And like Taylor said, that person that's a survivor is out there and more than just one. And we hope we get there sooner rather than later. Also, as Taylor mentioned, you know, it is some difficult and trying times where our entire world has been thrown into something that nobody was really ready for or could imagine. I sometimes feel like I'm living in a movie and somebody is watching me somewhere. I don't know what the deal is, but it's been definitely strange and it affects people in all different walks of life. And so I think, you know, part of going through this is that everybody is going through it at the same time. Everybody is at it at different levels. And we're finding whether it's school kids, you know, the biggest businesses in the world, those that are out there that are looking for cures and or vaccines that we hope will be coming sooner rather than later. And then ultimately a cure to end Alzheimer's. You know, there is all these different levels that people are involved in so many different things at this time. And I think we can all just really just try to take a deep breath, take each day as it comes, And, one of the things that I like to do is kind of make lists for myself. And whether it's making sure I just get the laundry done or trying to create lists to go to the grocery store so I'm not going there every day like I used to, I'm definitely getting better at that. But different things where we try to make ourselves at least feel good about the day. I look outside and I see a clear blue sky and the sun is out and it's actually kind of warm out. So I hope we start having more of those days as we move forward and are getting used to this different type of a lifestyle that we have right now. I hope it's not going to be the norm or whatever that new norm is. I hope at some point we can get back to some sort of used to. But in the meantime, I think it really is about being creative and finding how to make your days work with you, your families, your work life, and then your charitable life, which is what we're talking about today. So, I learning a little bit about the Alzheimer's Association and how they were kind of one of the Wisconsin chapter, one of the first ones to really start doing a lot of things virtually and getting things going and kicking off. Kudos to all of them and what they've done. And now, I think those of us on the outside, we want to try to help them keep things moving in the right direction and look forward to the walks no matter how they happen this fall. And like I said, just try to be creative and figure out how to make the fundraising happen and do what we can to hopefully find those survivors out there.
Great, thanks, Bonnie. Okay, so we are opening it up to all of you, our participants, to ask Bonnie any questions about her career, her training, her involvement with the Alzheimer's Association, anything that you have questions on. You can do this by using the chat function on the right-hand side of your screen to submit those questions. And if you have any questions regarding the Walk to End Alzheimer's or the Alzheimer's Association, one of the walk managers on this call will be happy to answer those. So start thinking about those questions, typing them in chat, and then I will tee it up to Amanda, our moderator, to start asking those when they start popping in.
All right. Well, we have our first one, Bonnie. The question is there a championship or Olympic medal that is most memorable for you?
Great question. I almost feel teary-eyed as I even just think of it. It's kind of like you caught me off guard. But it was my second Olympics. It was the Calgary Olympics in 1988. And I won that race in a world record time. However, one of my biggest rivalries, Krista Rothenberger, had raced in just 2 pairings before me and had set the world record. So in order for me to get the gold medal, not only did I, have to beat her, but now I have to go faster than I ever have in my entire life and set a personal best for myself as well as reset another world record. And typically Krista was always, her first 100 was typically faster than mine. But on this day, my first 100 was 2 100ths faster than her. And as I came across the finish line and saw the clock have its final tick, that 2 100ths of a second that was at the 100-meter mark was the exact same difference of the final. So I wound up resetting the world record, 2 100ths faster than Krista, received a gold medal. And, I think it just there has to be something said for doing something for the very first time that has a very emotional and power behind it. So that's not to say my other Olympic wins weren't thrilling and exciting. They were in their own right. But doing something for the very first time was for sure something very powerful. And then to set a world record on top of it was just a little bit more icing on the cake.
Holy cow. That's amazing. Oh, well, I'm going to remember that forever. That's cool. Then the next question we have is not as intense, so you get a break here. What what hobbies do you enjoy in your free time?
Well, I do enjoy to play golf. Like I said, I've been kind of waiting for this weather to warm up. My husband's, well, now that our courses have opened, so that was, a good thing. Of course, my husband wanted them open when it was still really chilly out. But now that the courses, and it's something that I enjoy to do with my husband, my son. And even my daughter went out there with us the other day, and she's recovering from hip surgery. So she was just walking, and she has no desire to play golf, but she actually would putt every once in a while. And she's like, well, I want to just try to hit the ball and get it up in the air. And I'm like, okay, well, let's try it. There's nobody around us. Take your time. And so that's definitely something that I enjoy. And that's kind of a good thing to do at this point in time now that the courses have opened up, because you can have your distance and from everybody, and including even in our family, but we're in our own little bubble here. So, but golf is definitely something that I enjoy to do. So that's probably my number one thing.
Awesome. So this is a hard one. You brought up your family, and I'm going to put you on the spot here. Someone asked, who would you say is the best athlete out of your little family there?
Well, I'm going to answer that with that's a to be determined because my son plays hockey. He plays hockey at Colorado College. And he's actually a really good golf player. I think part of it is the whole hand-eye coordination from playing hockey is transferred over into his golf. For sure, he's the best golfer right now. And then, of course, our daughter Blair is speed skating. And, with their careers not at their end yet, we're just going to leave it as it's to be determined.
That sounds good. That's awesome. Okay, the next question is, how did you get interested in speed skating in the first place?
Great question. I'm the youngest of 6 kids, so my brothers and sisters had all been involved in the sport before I was even ever born. In fact, one of the things that I say is Dan Jansen, being from the Wisconsin area, all you people around here probably remember his name. Our families were involved in the sport before we were born, so we were destined to be friends for sure. But yeah, my family was all involved in it, and they just always took me to the ice rink. So I really didn't know any different. And as a matter of fact, the day that I was born, my older brothers and sisters, which they are actually quite a bit older than I was, had a practice at a rink. And so this was also kind of before the days where husbands were involved or anybody else under their, your brother, sister, whoever else were allowed in the delivery room. And so my dad pretty much dropped my mom off at the hospital and took the rest of the kids to the rink. And then they announced it over the loudspeaker of whether I was a boy or a girl. So really destined to be in an ice rink. And now, given my son plays hockey, my daughter speed skates, I'm still in an ice rink.
That actually kind of answers one of the questions that was, how old were you when you started? Oh, excuse me, let me go back. The first question was, do you still skate today?
Okay, and yes, I do still skate today, although my daughter is way more powerful than I am. But I enjoy to go out there and try to stick with her as much as I can because it's exercise. And I like to eat. So given that, I want to keep exercising so I could keep eating, kind of not whatever I want, but
of course. Yes.
And but I was first on, my family first had me on skates about at the age of 2, and I was racing at the age of 4. So that's kind of And
Wow.
my kids, kind of the same way. They were both on very young, although my daughter really didn't want too much to do with it. We have pictures of her when she was real little, but then she went on to be a gymnast for a while and then got back into it when she turned 13. So she kind of got a little bit of a late start, but she's going like gangbusters, so that's okay.
Fantastic. So when do you remember starting to set going to the Olympics as a goal of yours?
I really didn't have the Olympics on my brain, although, because back in the day, I mostly skated what is now known to a lot of people as short track, what Apollo Ono, is so famous for. And that's done in hockey rinks. And there's very few facilities like here in Milwaukee at the Pettit Center where you have a 400-meter track, which is basically like a running track, but of course now ours is inside. It used to be outside, but there's very few tracks of those period in the United States. So that was that we called back then Olympic style. And, I didn't have the opportunity to do it too much. So the weekend before the Olympic trials in 1980, I was up here in Wisconsin for like a pack style meet where you race against other people, kind of like in short track, but we also did it on bigger rinks and on lakes and things like that. And they talked me into doing the races like they do Olympic style. The gun goes off, there's two of you on the track and you switch, lanes on the backstretch. And I'm like, okay, why am I doing this? And I'm probably going to forget to switch lanes on the backstretch. But also I knew that if I skated a certain time, I'd be qualified to skate in the Olympic trials. And so the gun went off. I kind of came around. I had like 100 meters to go, but the clock was ticking at the end of the straightaway, and I saw it clicking off. And I knew I had to get a 47-second 500, and I saw it hit 42, and I just kind of put my head down and started going as hard as I could. And I came across the finish line at 46.7, which meant I qualified to be in the Olympic trials. And I'm like, oh my God, this is great. So that was really kind of my first taste of it. And then at the Olympic trials, I wound up placing 8th overall for the women for the 500. And they took 5 spots. So I was like 3 spots, having never really done this before. So, of course I speed skated and the strides and things are the same, but it's also still very different. So that was my first little taste of it. And I'm like, and then of course I watched Eric Heiden win all those gold medals that winter. And then I'm like, all right, well, I think I'm going to keep trying this. And then 1984, I made my first Olympic team. So it was kind of a gradual process, but nothing that, as an 8-year-old I wanted to do. I never really thought of it too much until right before the 1980 Olympics.
Wow. So you're just a natural. You just
kind of like for that one. Sorry, but
that's what you're here for. We love hearing your stories. I got goosebumps while you were telling that story, by the way. Wow. So going a little bit more towards the walk to end Alzheimer's, someone was wondering if you have a favorite memory from any of the walks that you have attended.
I don't know if it's a favorite memory, but it's a memory that is deeply embedded in my brain. And now I might cry again, but I had gotten involved, a lot of times you get involved in something, and this is probably going to be another long-winded answer, because you know somebody or somebody knows somebody or whatever. So actually my hairdresser, his sisters had been involved with the Walk to End Alzheimer's. And so my hairdresser knew that my mom had been suffering from dementia, and they started chatting. And so, they were like, well, do you think she'd come to the Kenosha Walk? And so, like I said, one thing led to another, and I started helping with the Kenosha Walk for a couple of years. And really, it was only about 2 or 3 years later And my mom actually passed away about 3 days before the walk. So, of course I was still going to go to the walk because, number one, when you commit to something, you do it. And I think it had been not too long before that Brett Favre had lost his dad, and he had to play a game like the very next day or 2 days. And I'm like, it's kind of like the same thing. You step up to the plate, you do what needs to be done. The connection between the walk and my mom battling this disease were two things that were so closely linked that I knew that I needed to be there no matter what because of the connection it all brought together. So, that's one answer, definitely that kind of pulls at my heartstrings. And then the other one is when the Wisconsin a chapter decided to create a Blair's Cares Award that we bestow upon somebody that has really kind of gone over and above and beyond what it really needs to take to be a champion of Alzheimer's and the walks and what it all entails. So we've done that yearly now. Well, maybe help me out, Amanda. I think since maybe like 2011, somewhere in that.
Yeah, somewhere early. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the very first one we did, my daughter Blair joined me for that one. And my daughter Blair, so I am married, so I did not name my kid Blair. She is Blair Cruikshank. But there's no boy Blair name to carry on our family name. So really she's the one that's carrying that family name on. So I think another great memory for me is when we first created that Blair's Cares Award, that my daughter Blair was there with me when we presented it. And, once again, just kind of a neat connection to my mom, to the association, to what it all entails and what it's all about. And, for those of you that are out there trying to be creative, let's just bring this all back and, maybe you could be up for that Blair's Cares Award again this year. So, that's a thing that a lot of the people that receive this award, they don't really know that they're up for it. We always try to surprise somebody. But those of you that are trying to figure out ways to be creative, who knows, maybe your creativity will be able to bestow upon you this award that we present in the fall to somebody who's very deserving of it.
That's right. And one of the questions actually is, what walk will you be visiting this year? And we haven't had that discussion yet technically with Bonnie, but with what's going on in the world, I'm sure we will make sure that Bonnie stays safe. And we will see what that looks like come fall. But we would love to give out another Blair's Care Award. It just matters at how we do it.
Right,
so yeah,
exactly.
So we all cross our fingers that she comes to our walks, because then we know something extra special might be happening. Okay, so we have so this is going to be a tough one. This one.
I didn't know I was going to need Kleenex, and I'm right by me. So ease up on me here, people.
Okay, so this question is, how did you come to the decision to walk away from competing? And did you, because I know, I'm sorry, but I felt I couldn't skip the question. And like, who did you maybe talk to make it? Because as we know, we watch our football teams and baseball teams, and we know that's a hard decision for people. I mean, Michael Jordan came back twice. So what do you, and I think Gronkowski or Tom Brady's coming back. So tell us more about that.
So I guess because I had seen people walk away and come back, I didn't want that to be me. When I walked away, I wanted to just be done. And typically a lot of Olympians will be done at the end of an Olympics. But so I was also kind of lucky too, because we had an Olympics in 1992 and then again in 1994. That's when they decided to stagger the Olympics to give the winter and the summer their own year to really stand on, so that every 2 years there would be an Olympics, versus it was always just 4 years. A winter would start it up and then it would follow by summer. So number one, I got a little bit of a bonus. I don't know if I would have stopped after 92 or not, but we knew 94 was coming, so I was going to go to 94. But also, typically in our sport, we know when the world championships are going to be, like a year or two ahead of time. So I already knew during the 94 season that the World Sprint Championships, which is really the biggest competition back in the day, they've kind of switched it a little bit now, on a non-Olympic year, for me, would have been the World Sprint Championships, which was going to be hosted here in Milwaukee in 1995. So I was like, no way am I going to be a spectator sitting in the stands when the biggest competition comes to what is now my hometown. So I knew for sure when I was done with 94 that I was going to go one more season. And then I thought, okay, then 3 years is, yeah. And I think by then I felt like I had already what-ifed myself to death. What if I go one more year? What if I go one more Olympics? But my what-ifs had really kind of run out, and I wanted to get to the World Championships. And yes, I wanted to skate well there, but I was also being pulled in a lot of different directions because of having just been a recent two-time more Olympic gold medalist. But, I was still training and doing the best I could to be the best that I could be when that championship came here to Milwaukee. And as it turned out, I wound up skating in front of a packed house at the Pettit Center, where 300 of those members were what they called the Blair Bunch. And I wound up winning all 4 races, winning the world sprint title another time, and then a few weeks later going on to Calgary, another favorite track of mine, and setting a new world record. So I knew that was just going to kind of be my plan, and I felt comfortable in walking away on my terms and nobody else's. So it was, I didn't have an injury forcing me out. I didn't feel like, oh, you're too old, you can't. Like, my very last race that I ever skated was an American record and the fastest I had ever gone. So, yeah, maybe you could look at it as still on the upswing, but then, like I said, I just kind of felt like, okay, I've run out of my what ifs. And I walked away and was happy and content. And it was like a year later, another one of my long-winded answers, a year later, when it started to be the fall and starting to smell like the wet leaves and things like that, oh my God, did I get pins in my heart. And I'd go out for a run, and in the middle of my run, I'd just start crying. It was like I was having withdrawals from my sport, because that smell of wet leaves, which I still notice even today in the fall, is a smell I had smelt for like 16 years in Germany, because we were always in Germany in the fall. And so, like, it was, I went through some hard times after that, where those twinges were pulling at my heartstrings, but yet I still know that, I walked away on my own terms, and, I could look back and say no regrets. And that's really what I wanted to do. And yes, it kind of hurt my heart. I still was able to do it really on my own terms. And that made me feel good about walking away.
Oh man, walking away in that capacity had to be so hard. I've had some personal experience with some of that, but at your level, I can only imagine. Oh my gosh. Well,
can I
oh,
just
go ahead.
add a little bit
Yes.
more to that, please?
Yes.
And so now that my daughter's competing, for instance, well, this last year I went to places I had been to Poland before, but never to this track that she raced at. But going back to Calgary with my daughter, like, has been like crazy fun, and like, not this past winter, but the one before, going back to this town in Germany that I smelled the wet leaves for 16 years with my daughter. I mean, oh my God, I was like in seventh heaven. So I'm able to kind of relive a lot of all this through my daughter. And, I keep wanting her to know, like, okay, you need to do this for you. And she is, but boy, am I having a lot of fun with it.
That's awesome. So I'm going to queue up one more question for you because we were wanting to kind of keep it to 12:30 so people could watch on their lunch breaks.
Okay.
So you keep mentioning world records. I am curious, how many have you set throughout your career? I mean, is it the point where you've lost track? You're off of fingers and toes?
Yeah, no, I actually don't know the exact. I don't know the exact answer to that, and people might think that I'm a little crazy that I don't know the exact answer to that. But let me explain a little bit why. So like I said, I had grown up skating short track, inside the hockey rink, and I know I had set, I believe, 3 world records there. 2 in the 500, 1 in the 800, which I probably still have because they don't race that race anymore. And then in lawn track, you can get it for a race itself. But then, like I said, like the world championships that I had, that I skated here in Milwaukee, when you total the 4 distances together, they take the time and add the time all together. And so you could actually get a world record for points. They kind of like take our time, let's say for the 500 meters, let's say it's 39 seconds, so 39.00. That would be your points for the 500. And then when you skate 1,000, they take the 1,000-meter time, divide it by 2, and that becomes kind of like a 500, and then add that to your other 500. So you get a total of 4 sets of points at the end of a competition, and that can be a world record. So I did that a few times. So like I'm guessing, close to 15 times, but I don't know I don't know the answer to that. So I'm sorry, I don't know as far as the 500 goes, I did that 3 different times, maybe 4. But yeah, so I'm sorry, maybe that's something, being stuck here in my house, I should find out the answer to that.
No, that's okay. You are just definitely one for the history books, Bonnie. You are amazing. So we thank you so much. Do you have any final words you would like to say to our wonderful walkers and possibly Walk to End Alzheimer's committee members on this call?
Yeah, I just want to say, first of all, thanks for being involved. From somebody who has experienced this disease firsthand, we know that so many people coming together are really what makes it happen, what gets us closer to that end result of finding that ultimate cure. So we're excited that you're part of the Wisconsin chapter. We look forward to hopefully being able to do the walks outside, and who cares what kind of weather it is. Just to be outside and hopefully be amongst people would be really awesome. But if not, and if that's not the case, it still doesn't change what we're doing and why we're doing it. So, I just want to say to stick to your guns, look for that creativity. and let's band together to see what we can do to get closer to that end result. So I wish everybody good health. Practice your safety, wash your hands, wear your mask, try to find fun ones. And let's do what we can so that we can all get back to some normalcy in our life. But ultimately, let's hope that one day we're all part of this cure to end Alzheimer's.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Bonnie. Enjoy the rest of this beautiful day. Hopefully you go on a walk or a run yourself outside. And thank you, walkers. This has been recorded, so if you want to watch again and listen to all of Bonnie's answers, Bonnie, they've been loving your quote unquote long-winded answers. They were amazing. I've had comments about it, so thank you. Everyone, enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you guys around. Let's end Alzheimer's.
Let's end Alzheimer's.
Have a good day, everyone.
Bye-bye.